So I have this sermon that I have preached before, and it explores the richness of the Lucan birth narrative, and it may come back sometime. But this week, I hope it was God doing a new thing for this evening. After some really interesting encounters I had regarding Christmas. Bulletin making on Friday evening with our new administrator, Franklin, feeding some of my Muslim neighbors on Wednesday evening, reading the newsletter from the elementary school principal, and a conversation where I ended up saying that the world is still often a terrible place, even if we aren't in the worst of it, and that's why humanity needs Christmas. So let me tell you about those. This past week was the second week we had our new administrator, Franklin. Now, Franklin works at two other congregations in addition to Northside and St. Aidan's. One is a volunteer position where he attends, at the church where he attends, which is where his husband, Taylor, is priest in Ypsi. But this week, he's been helping assemble or print something like 6 or more bulletins for all the various services. And the 2 bulletins I was assembling were ready on Friday evening, and he wouldn't have had time to print them on Thursday anyway, so that's okay. And Franklin was generous to meet me on Friday evening to help print them. Now, the first miracle of Christmas came that evening, which was that even though the copier told us to replace the black toner cartridge, we were still able to print the bulletins, even though there was no new toner to be found. It was really more of a Hanukkah miracle, but we'll do what we can with it. When we were finally finished, I congratulated him on making it through a pastor's hell week. And we usually think of that jokingly as Holy Week leading up to Easter. So maybe there are 2 extra stressful weeks in the church each year. But ridiculous amounts of bulletins aside that he has coming for him that week, we realized Christmas is actually maybe more challenging. And that's because I think Easter is still primarily a church thing. And apart from Easter baskets and egg hunts, the pressures of the secular world don't weigh nearly as heavily at that time of year as the secular pressures do now. Everyone expects more out of the Christmas season. Every who down in Whoville is busy, decking the halls with elaborate Christmas trees, sipping hot chocolate while driving around, looking at light displays. And there are parties with coworkers, gifts to buy and wrap, meals to plan, cookies to bake, visits with all the family, annual letters to write and cards to send, classic Christmas movies to watch, chocolate and toys every day for 24 days beforehand in what we colloquially still call Advent calendars. And those help kids to count down to the big event, Christmas Eve, when Santa comes and fills stockings while children are trying to sleep and their parents wake up extra early to their excitement, when the kids are ready to tear open all the shiny paper in hopes that the coolest toy will actually be there. And we do all of this in the dark, the longest nights and bleakest days around this time. It's a long list, and we act as if the holidays aren't complete without it all. Have we forgotten anything? All right, the Christ in Christmas. It sounds cliche, but the reality is we do now have 2 separate holidays with the same name. The weekly Friday newsletter from the elementary school principal included an explanation of the holiday along with others celebrated at this time of year. The celebration of Christmas. Christmas is a Christian celebration of the birth of Jesus. However, it has also become a secular holiday, observed by Christians and non-Christians alike. Well, there you have it, right? Even within church, we struggle to balance comforts of nostalgic traditions, like our favorite hymns and pageants, and balancing that out with any deeper reflection on Christmas. What are we doing? Well, this week, our neighbor who is going through a divorce asked if we could pick up her 3 boys from after-school care on Wednesday so that she could work late. Now, those boys are all about Jake's age. And when we did manage through an hour of 6-year-old twins and 2 7-year-olds bouncing off the walls with cheese pizza for dinner. Now, here's my confession. Our house is decked out with a Christmas tree in nearly every room. And these are Muslim neighbors. And the oldest brother among the 3 boys asked me if we celebrate Christmas. Yeah. Okay, well, what is it? Well, I answered with as much context as I could that lots of people celebrate with decorations and presents, that originally Santa was St. Nicholas, who was a Christian who gave presents to lots of people, that we give presents to one another at Christmas as a way of showing love for others, that it is a celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, who is a unique prophet in their Islamic tradition. Yes, it is a lot like having a birthday party for Jesus. And then the doorbell rang and I was spared any further questions. But what do we teach our own children? That we come to worship a baby, celebrating a birthday? The baby reminds us of God's love. But we shy away from the reasons why God's love and God's presence with us is so important. Because the reality is that this isn't just a stressful time of year because of our expectations. It's that we build up an idea of a wonderful, happiest time of the year because the world is actually always a messed up place to live. And I don't want my children to yet realize how bad the world can be, how desperately we need hope, peace, joy, and love, how we need a guiding light and restful darkness. See, the reality is that the Christmas of our faith isn't meant for a world of cheer. It is meant for the world of bleak midwinters. The light of Christ came to shine in the darkness of war-torn areas. It is meant for those who are deeply grieving and desperately in need of food, shelter, freedom, loving kindness. It's even for us when we struggle to feel loved, when we are fighting with our friends, when we are drowning inside, or when our own security is hanging by a thread. The adult Jesus to us is not just a powerful prophet. This is God incarnate. The whole life of Jesus is an affirmation that our full humanity given by God means that we are loved and our lives have meaning, even when we suffer and despair and grieve and feel abandoned. Christmas is celebrating the fact that God comes to the world. And in the birth narrative, we see that God chooses to be born to parents who are out of place, who long for justice. And we are reminded that God's favor, which is to say God's first priority, is to address the sufferings of this world. This is ever clearer on the cross, where we learn that suffering is not a punishment from God, but where God meets us with compassion. And in the resurrection, we know that God's love for humanity is stronger than all the inhumane things we can do to one another. That is what we remember when we say God is with us. The first glimmer of hope in the weary world, the first glimmer of light in the darkness, is the incarnation. In the incarnation, God meets us in the reality of our vulnerability. God present with us even when we are so easily dismissed or overlooked. God calling us to be mindful of who we ignore. We remember the birth of a baby at Christmas, but we are witnessing a reminder of our true humanity, which is a gift from God. It is a gift that comes without packages, boxes, or string. It is the glory of which the angels sing. Peace on earth, goodwill to all, for God is with us, the highest born among the lowliest. A light shines in the darkness. This is the dawn of redeeming grace. And that's what Christmas is all about.